Oh, yes. Right, actually recording. Hello and welcome to another episode of Political Breakdown, a show where me and a number of guests talk about the week's news. This week my guest is James Shakeshaft. Hello.
Hello.
How is it going?
I'm all right. My wife's cut my hair this week. I've had a shave this week.
Very nice.
A trim. I'm not going to go barefaced.
I was going to say that's quite impressive for shaving this week.
Although, yeah, no, it's mostly just the cheeks that I have to do. Otherwise, starts to get into my actual eyes.
Not a worry I tend to have, I'll be honest.
That would have to be very long, yeah.
Let's start off with some fun, shall we? Let's
start off
a little bit of gossip.
Ooh.
Neil, that's his name, Neil Ferguson, Professor Neil Ferguson.
Oh, I thought we were going for another NF. Oh, those are appropriate initials, aren't they? For Farage.
Anyway,
let's go. We're talking love rats.
Love rat. Now, what I want to talk about this particular story is the fascination of timing and how scientists are being represented at the moment. Because that particular story was everywhere on the same day that we became the country with the most deaths in Europe. So a lot of front pages had Neil Ferguson. What this has created is a continuation that we've seen for the past couple of weeks of attacks on scientists. Now, first question is, does a scientist getting laid mean that their numbers are wrong?
It's definitely newsworthy when nerds get sex, but no, not at all. I can't think of any situation where that would affect their numbers.
Now, why do you think that we've seen over the past few weeks, especially, a conceited effort from a number of papers and commentators attempting to discredit particular scientists? Do you think this is a carry-on from what we saw during the Brexit debate?
Oh yeah, totally. If you can, that's the thing. It's annoying because those same weapons don't seem to work. Like, if because someone has been in what's the word? Infidelital? My mind has turned to mush. I've been hanging around with a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, so these sort of words don't come up. Yes, if a person's been cheating, then and therefore you don't have to listen to them anymore, then we're cool. Boris Johnson doesn't need to do his statement tomorrow.
Well, I mean, the hypocrisy of that is, of course, something that hasn't been mentioned as much from the likes of the media that we all know what I'm talking about, the media that are doing this. We know the ones that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now, Neil Ferguson fucked up, done something that he shouldn't have done. He resigned off the back of that.
Yes.
Was that the right move?
No, but I don't know. I think that's the thing. People, for some reason, the goodies are being held to an incredibly high moral compass, which it shouldn't, like, with things that aren't related. I mean, with that one, I suppose the argument is that he told everyone to stay at home and then he went out. But, I mean, who hasn't?
He was on the opinion. Well, yeah, but he was of the opinion that he was had a low chance of infecting anyone because he already had it. And there is the argument of immunity. But that doesn't shy away from the fact that we're in social distancing and lockdown at the moment. And he shouldn't have went and carried on an affair during this time.
Yeah. It's really fucking stupid of him, to be honest.
Yes. Of someone who, frankly, if there's anyone to know better, it's him, considering that it's his modelling that said that if we didn't do something, we would be into hundreds of thousands of deaths in this country.
Yeah, it's just that, I mean, it's an example of just keep it in your trousers, mate. Like, people just thinking with men thinking with their dick.
Yes. No, I mean, the woman was also involved in this. I did not like having her photo everywhere. I saw absolutely no fucking point in her photo being there. I do not know why they did that. I do not know what they're hoping to gain out of it. Because I understand showing the photo of Neil Ferguson because he's the one that you're talking about at this point. If it was this woman and some other random fuck, you wouldn't know.
Also, I haven't seen the picture.
It was front page. I think in a number of different. Well, her picture was in the papers of a number of publications. And I just didn't see the point in putting her name out there. I don't like. We all like gossip, but why the fuck are you putting her name out there at all? It seemed.
It's the race to have the most information about it, so that you can appear to be, it makes your argument seem more legitimate if you've got a few more like little random bits of information in there. Also, I suppose the other thing is like, maybe, I don't know, is she conventionally attractive or particularly not attractive? Like that
it's really not for me to say.
But that, I guess, would be the sort of tittle-tattle side of it, to see,
yes.
And she was not particularly, he did it even though she was not particularly attractive, or she's very attractive. Well, you would, wouldn't you? It's kind of, I guess, the subtext in that.
One thing that I've seen a lot of people say, and I'm not sure how much I believe, is that finally, we're at a point where we are back to listening to scientists.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people have been saying that, and I'm not sure if that's strictly true. Our government has shown that it didn't work as quickly, even though scientists were saying it. We're still at a point where the government is making numbers for seemingly no reason. So, like the 100,000 tests.
The tests, yeah.
We're going to get 100,000 tests. We've got 127,000. Not all of the tests were actually done, of course, but 122,000. With 27,000 of them weren't actually done. They were potential. And then every day since, we've had less. We've got the capability to do more. But we haven't been doing them.
Yeah.
Just
check out my Duolingo account. I've got the capability to learn Italian and Japanese.
Is the fact that we have a capability for doing, say, 100,000 tests, and by the end of the month, we will have the capability of.
Yeah.
We're seeming to allow the government to get away with saying we've got the capability to do this. If you have the capability and you're not doing it, should that not be more of an important question being asked? Yeah,
and why not? As it can be asymptomatic, if you've got some spare slots, then just get some like people who aren't, just some other people who are maybe in an at-risk group, get them tested. Because even if you're testing 100,000 a day, I think it would take 2 years to test everyone in the country. So let's get cracking. If you've got room to do them tests, mate, I'll have a go. I want to know if I've got. I would like to have peace of mind that I haven't got it.
Oh, what, 365 days in a year, 100,000 a day, 365 times 100,000 is like a number.
Some millions. I thought I did the maths the other day, but hold on. what is there? Say 66 million people in the country.
Yeah, 67, I believe.
67. Let me find my calculator. I thought I did. We've all been drinking a lot recently.
Yes.
6, 7, and then is it 5 zeros or 6 zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divided by
100,000 is 5.
4. Yeah, 670. So okay, under 2 years.
That's still a length of time, isn't it?
That's a while.
Yeah. Okay. It's the particular thing I've been worrying about since this whole thing has begun, and we've seen it continue. We've got doctors. Doctors, campaign groups, academics, and MPs are raising concerns about a power grab after it emerged that Serco was in pole position to win a deal to supply 15,000 call handlers for the government's tracking and tracing operation. Now, this is coming in from weeks that we have seen companies like Deloitte, KPMG, Boots, US data mining group called Plantier, all get government contracts without any competition. So what the government is currently doing at the moment is saying, right, things need to be done. We cannot go through the normal legal steps that we would normally do from having competition and some transparency. And we're just handing over contracts to private firms to do things. What they're doing at the moment, we've got the Department of Health has also sent out letters to the NHS trusts telling them to stop buying their own PPE and ventilators.
Yikes.
Yes, because from Monday, and this is this Monday coming, purchasing of 16 items, including PPE, CT scanners, mobile X-rays, and ultrasounds, are to be purchased centrally. This is going to be probably done by Deloitte. This is also, so once again, Deloitte thus far have been in charge for some time of getting the PPE.
Oh.
They have not been doing what we'd say a wonderful job.
No, I think they'd say they were really bad at it.
So at this time, with the pandemic, should we just allow the government to do what it wants?
Yeah. No, not really. I guess you've got to sort of weigh up the speed. Getting stuff done quickly is a good thing at the moment. Things need to be done very, very quickly, but they also need to be done well. And maybe if someone's proven themselves not to be very good at doing a thing, don't make them do it more.
Well, I mean, this is at the moment, we know that we've never had freedoms taken away in such a monumentous way as we have at the moment. Our freedom of movement, our freedom to worship, our freedom of assembly, which are three fundamental freedoms, have all been taken away at this point for a reason, of course. My worry is always that I don't trust governments. I don't trust people.
Yeah.
I do not trust this government. So I'm always concerned about how far it goes and exactly what steps our government will take. And when this is all over, how much is going to stay?
Well, that's the thing. And they're also going to decide when this is all over.
Yes.
So it's if everyone's just at home, not interacting with anyone else, it's quite easy. And it's definitely not happening at the moment, but it will be quite easy to tell people, oh, you probably should stay in a bit more actually still. And just keep doing that. But I'm not for a second saying that's what's happening at the moment. It's for a very good reason at the moment. But yeah, it's worrying how far they're going to go, because it's never going to go back to the level it was before. They're not the nature of anyone in power is not to give up power, and they're not going to give it up as much. If you've got the choice of like, oh, we could, you know, like, I mean, if you go back to like the 90s, what was the ravers law? You know, the law that came in because of raves, allegedly, but basically meant that people couldn't protest.
I mean, I was quite young in the 90s, so I wasn't keeping much close of an eye on the policies that were coming out. I can only apologise for that.
I mean, I was not raving at that point, but I was aware of that.
I was 10 in 98, so
what?
There wasn't tons of.
I was drunk in 98.
Yeah, well, I'm young and you're old, James. This is.
Oh, that's how the nature of time, isn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I say that. I mean, I'm 32 at the end of the month, so.
I'll be 40 this year.
Yes.
So that's probably why I'm not that bothered by lockdown. It's nice just to not be asked to go out anymore. Anyway, no, that is the worry, that the power will not be given up. So you kind of got to make sure that. How can you make sure though? Because it's, you know, they've got it's the best intentions at the moment. So if you say, I don't want to do that, you look like you can easily be painted as being the one in the wrong.
It's where do you stop? This is where the question lies. Should a government ever be given absolute power? Because at the moment, the government have taken absolute power. We have made freedom of movement, freedom of worship, and freedom of assembly. We've made them criminal offences at the moment. We're already at a point where our government, because of the laws that they brought in, are able to say, you're protesting, no, that's illegal. And this isn't, and the thing is,
or you're having a meeting about protesting.
Yeah, I don't want to come across as like, I'm not going to be America and pick up a gun and go in front of Congress and tell them that I want to be free to die, or the knobheads that were all hugging in London a couple of fucking weeks ago, who seem to think that 5G is the cause of everything and gay frogs fuck their mum or something. I'm not 100% sure what they believe, I'll be honest. I know it's just tosh. But we're at a point where we've given, like, police, with the criminal offences that were brought in, the police determine what is a reasonable excuse to go out. That is a worry, because police are human beings. And they make mistakes. And we've already seen it. We've already seen people fined. We've seen people shot with fucking tasers. We've seen people stopped for no reason, really.
Yeah.
But once you give anyone this almost carte blanche power, are you telling me that you're not going to find people who are going to screw with it, going to mess it up, use it badly? So where is too far? What would the government have to do for us to go, even with a pandemic, this isn't right?
Well, handle it incredibly badly, so much so that people just kind
that's
of...
not the case.
Yeah.
If that was the case, we'd be fucking caring about it now.
I don't know, before, even when it was still in this, the official word was, and it definitely was, herd immunity.
Yes.
It was basically, if you're at risk, stay inside. Everyone else, just look out if you get a bit of a cough. At that point, people were self-isolating who didn't need to. People knew that they had it wrong. So I don't know. I think that's the thing. While they're scared of the pandemic, I think people are making on the whole, people are making good choices.
I don't think this weekend they are.
Really?
Yeah, this weekend, because this entire week has been filled with both the media and the government managing to fuck up a slowdown of the lockdown,
a
loosening of the lockdown before it's even begun.
Whether or not it's even going to have begun, we don't even know what's going to happen.
That's how bad they are. They've managed to fuck up the loosening before they've even mentioned that they're loosening. So we've had papers saying, the weekend, everything's going to be fine. It's a bank holiday, sun's out, fun's out, get yourself your guns out. I went on a walk yesterday, as is my state-sanctioned right.
Oh, good. Your mandatory exercise, well done.
Yeah, and I walked past my ex-local that is open. I've seen a number of pubs like this that are open for takeaway.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Now, I thought long and hard about whether or not I thought this was a good idea or fucking abhorrent. And then I saw everyone standing queuing outside for a pint in a plastic cup. And then finding somewhere where there's sun and social distancing about a fucking hand's breadth away from each other, as though 17 people are all living in the same pissing household, all having a drink. And even on top of that, the waste, because that plastic cup, they are not walking back into the pub.
Yeah.
Being left off the side.
Yeah, you got to get... Yeah. I mean, the only thing I like about it is it reminds me of the past, and the past that I never experienced, when pubs used to shut in the afternoon for a couple of hours, so you'd get a pint and go and sit outside.
Yeah.
And it's nice that the pubs can at least be supported in their business, but yes, the point is you go and buy your beer in the pub and then take it home and drink it at home. You don't drink it in the street.
I don't want to be killed by other people's incompetence.
Yes. Yeah.
If the world's going to end, I would much prefer it either some form of asteroid or me pushing a button.
Yeah.
That's the way I want it. I do not want it because people can't help but when the sun's out to go down to a pub, buy a pint, and then get 20 of their closest friends down the park.
Yes. Yeah. And there was, because that VE Day thing, there was like everyone go outside at a certain point and do a sing song and whatnot. It's like people are gonna see their neighbours, aren't they, at that point? And if you're in a block of flats, you can't all go outside, and it's just you're right. Did
you do anything for VE Day?
Well, on our street they had like a tea party thing where everyone sat outside the front of their house, and then people started walking up and down the street and kind of going and talking to people at a 2 meter distance. Yes. To be fair, people were pretty good at that, but still, it's like 2 meters isn't like a force field. No. You can still get ill at 2 meters.
And if you're walking, then it should be 4 meters. And if you're running, it should be 10.
And yes, yeah.
We're struggling with 2 meters at the moment, and I think making it more complicated is a worry that we're facing. I didn't do anything for VE Day. Go
on. Sorry.
It's mainly owing to the fact that I do not think that people have taken the right things from it at the moment. We take it as some sort of massive victory. I don't think you can ever claim any form of victory when you've killed millions of people, rightly or wrongly. And we had to, I'm not doubting for a moment that the Second World War had to be done. I'm just not there going, aren't we wonderful?
Yeah, your takeaway from that shouldn't be brilliant. We can have anyone. It's and I didn't realise that the bank holiday had been moved from Monday, because it's May Day bank holiday, and it was supposed to be on Monday, but it was moved, presumably because it was the 7th. And I suppose it is the 75th anniversary.
Yeah, I know, 75th, and it's something that we should always remember, and we should celebrate the sacrifices, certainly. We should
Yeah.
also learn from it, which is something that we haven't done, especially over the past couple of years. We've seen xenophobia rise to almost Brobdingnagian proportions, to a point that even during the coronavirus, who had the chief of the UN, what's his name? I've got it somewhere here in one of these poxy fucking stories. Thousands of the things. But anyway, someone, chief of the UN, has said that one of the problems that we are facing over the coronavirus pandemic is another rise in xenophobia.
Yeah.
And a division, including seeing more and more online conspiracies involving anti-Semitism and Islamophobic tropes. Why do you think that we are seeing such a growth again, which is another growth after the nationalism that we've seen spread around the world over the past few years? What about the coronavirus pandemic has helped to stir the flames of hate?
Well, I think the conspiracy thing is always going to be there when there's a disaster that is unforeseen, and especially one that's as seemingly random as a virus. People need to have a pattern. They need to make up a pattern because it makes you feel better if you think that this was caused by someone creating this in a lab. That's better than it just happened. Because if it was caused by someone in a lab, you can try and stop people from doing that. But if it just happened, it's going to just happen again.
So you think it's a fear?
It's always, it's fear. That's why, and it's fear of the other. That's why it's, when you get scared, you lock down. Lockdown's probably not the right word, but it's literally happened. It's on a micro level. When you have something delivered, a little bit of you thinks, well, this might be the thing that has coronavirus on it. And that's just someone who's not in your house. Yeah. That's like, so you just macro it up to bigger levels. And then these sort of tropes of, the anti-Semitism, Islamophobic, anti-Asian, obviously, like this fucking China virus.
A lot of anti-Asian from people who seemingly don't get what they're saying, and that's me being very nice to them, because I've seen a lot of people on especially Twitter who spend all of their time going, racism is bad, racism's terrible, I've dealt with a lot of racism, you should never be racist. Also going, the Chinese, they all eat bat soup and that's the problem. They're going, well, you have to understand that that's racist, what you're doing. That's also racist. Yeah, you're pushing a racist trope. And these people may just not understand it, or they may think that, you can't be racist to China because they're Chinese or some mad bollocks. People will always find an excuse. This is going back to what we were talking about previously with regards to the laws that have been put in place. Would you report someone for breaking the coronavirus rules?
Not like going out for 2 walks in a day or something. I don't know. What are the rules? Not really for going, just going out. I think if someone was having a party, like a clear and obvious party with lots of people going that didn't need to be there, then I might think about that. I mean like literally like a barbecue and you can hear that they're having a do. Yeah, I probably would, because I think, like you're saying with the pub, that is people's incompetence and selfishness and stupidity. If someone's gone out a couple of times in a day, 2 or 3 times, it's like they've probably got a reason to be doing that. because everyone knows what's going on. I don't know, to be honest, I haven't looked it up. I don't know how you report it. You just call 111 or something?
There's a number to call. I think you can also call 111. They have seen a rise. This is it's interesting because you see different countries doing it in a very different way. Singapore is a prime example of people who are working incredibly closely with the police. Singapore is like a very clean police state. Yeah.
But it's also the most densely populated country in the world, isn't it?
Yes. You've got the issues. One of the reasons where they did very well with regards to tracking and tracing, especially at the start of this. They moved incredibly quickly, but it's a lot easier to move quickly if you are
if you already know where everyone is. Yeah.
Yes. It's one of the things that we don't talk about in this country with our surveillance and data mining, and especially because of the new laws that have been brought in as statutory instruments. So they haven't even gone through. There's still the laws that I spoke about before: freedom of movement, worship, and the other word I said. They were brought in with assembly. Yeah. They were brought in as statutory instruments to a point that MPs still haven't signed them off. So it's been well over a month, and MPs haven't looked at it, haven't scrutinised. And this is the thing: things that are happening at the moment, from both the potential fear of privatising the NHS, with giving more and more contracts to private firms. None of that is going through scrutiny. We're at a point where scrutiny isn't being used, where it may be more needed than ever.
Yeah.
Because we need to make sure that what's happening isn't the death knell of the country.
Yeah.
When we get to the end of this, it will be too late to turn around and go, oh, well, we've actually sold everything now. So these laws have to be kept in place because we're going to, like every time there's a terror attack, every time there's a terror attack, we bring in a new law. We don't need to. There's already laws in place for it. Now, I know during this pandemic, as I say, things needed to be done, but how they've been done and the severe lack of care from the nation, which is a continuation from the fucking Investigatory Powers Act of 2016 all the way to now. Our lack of care of surveillance and data mining and just following that our government is able to do, it worries me that we seemingly look at it as it's for our own good.
Yeah. I think surely they got time to be doing some scrutinising at the minute as well. Like, what else you doing, mate?
Well, the opposition certainly should, but it's whether or not they are able to. And transparency is a big thing. Don't forget, our government still are unwilling to tell us what the scientific advice was. They received at the start. And
those pages of redactions. That's how you say it. Yeah. So someone scribbled that out in my dictionary.
Very nice, very nice.
Thank you. You're welcome.
we only allow one joke per hour on this show, so thank you very much for actually doing one.
I've got some on Siegfried and Roy and everything. when we get to celebrity deaths. The thing that concerns me is what will probably happen is the tracking. When that gets implemented in order to track and trace, that's pretty much going to be mandatory that you have this thing on your phone. And that's when it gets worrying.
Especially on what companies are in charge of.
Yes. Even just this government.
Well, yes, because the government will do whatever they so wish with any fucking data. But one of the companies that his name has popped up time and time again is a company called Faculty. Now, Faculty are currently working. I spoke about this in last week's show. They're currently working with the US data mining company Palantir, something like that. That is owned by Peter Thiel, who's a US right-wing billionaire. And they're working on a lot of data from the US government at the moment. But Faculty have come up again this week in another piece of news that they're an AI startup that was hired by Dominic Cummings on the Vote Leave campaign. So they're delightful. But they've been awarded at least 7 government contracts worth almost £1 million in the last 18 months.
Right.
On top of that, Theodore Agnew, who is a cabinet office minister, who's also responsible for the government's department that promotes the use of digital technology within the public services, has a £90,000 shareholding with the company.
Fuck.
Now he is saying that, of course, as all government ministers do, that it's nothing untoward because I don't actually deal in anything with Faculty. That's kind of not how conflicts of interest work.
No.
But he's unwilling to sell his share, I assume, because he thinks it's going to be worth quite a lot of money in some time. And as a start-up, it probably will be.
Yeah.
If you get your hand on every fucking government contract possible. Also, Mark Warner, who is the chief executive, attended some SAGE meetings, which is the science meetings.
Yeah.
And his brother, Ben Warner, who was a data scientist, was recruited by Dominic Cummings last year to come in and as an advisor. He was also mentioned in the news story a couple of weeks ago when we found out that Dominic Cummings attended SAGE meetings for some fucking reason. Ben Warner acted as Dominic Cummings' deputy during those meetings as well.
Right.
I know that a lot of this stuff isn't considered massivly important at the moment. I know one things that we have other things that we should be caring about, which is mainly our lockdown. How are we going to survive it? But as I said before, this is all of the information that is required so that when we get out of this, it is not fucking dystopia.
Yeah. So that we do get out of this. Yes.
Talking about getting out of it, how would you look at loosening the lockdown? Where would your steps be?
As a father of a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old,
yes,
I very much like the idea of being able to go and see grandparents and have them come and wake up in the morning at 5 a.m. for me. But I genuinely think that's small. I don't know how you police it, but I think the idea of being able to go into small groups but I think in practical terms, it's impossible to police, and people will take the piss. The small groups idea of you nominate 10 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you? Have you got 10 that you would nominate?
I haven't even got 10. Genuinely, there's 4.
Do you worry that you could start a shadow market, a black market on spaces, so you can sell your spaces for? Listen, I've only got 5, so I'm going to sell these other 5 to you at a certain amount per pop for a week or something. You want to have a party right, I'm going to buy, like what they tried with carbon emissions a few years ago, to be able to buy carbon offsets.
Right. Okay.
For companies to buy and sell their carbon emissions, but doing that with people in lockdown.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's clever. That's like 1 in 2 people will get cancer, so you pay someone to smoke and go on sunbeds for you, and then that's your nominated 2. So you're fine. You can do what you want.
When I first heard about the 10 people, my first thought is, could I just ask people who I've never met but always wanted to?
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, like the ultimate dinner
nominate.
party.
Yeah, just nominate that person that you looked at on the underground that you really liked. And nominate her. Yeah, you have to stay here now. You have to drink with me now. Yeah.
That is the ghost of David Bowie.
This cost me a lot of spaces, I'll be honest.
Yeah. I think I don't know if there is a way that you can slowly come out of the lockdown even.
Well, you have to be careful about a cliff edge, especially when it comes to.
I don't mean the support. Yeah, I don't mean the support for businesses and stuff like that. That needs to bridge the gap, because businesses, it's not going to be, when lockdown stops, it's not going to be the same for, especially, for like the restaurants and pubs and stuff.
We've got a quarter of the population has been furloughed.
Right.
A quarter of employees have been furloughed.
Right.
And that is a big number because what you have to make sure is that there's enough support so that you're not going from furlough to basically waiting to be made redundant.
Yes.
Because they can't afford it. One of the ideas that was spoken about was old Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, a suggestion of moving it from 80% furlough to 60% wage.
Right. And
the problem with this is not only is it a 60% and so they would lower the 2,500 max as well.
Yeah.
The problem with that is 60% of the median wage is the definition of relative poverty.
Right.
So moving it to 60% is moving everyone furloughed into relative poverty, which may not be the greatest of ideas.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
Oh, food banks running out of food at the moment. The fact that we have, now I understand the use of a food bank. Any time outside of a pandemic is beyond disgusting.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a charity as a whole. I've said many times, the only once you have charity, society's failed.
Yeah. Like all this fundraising for the NHS.
Oh yes, we're getting
charity.
We're getting a fucking 100-year-old to walk around in circles, and then everyone fucking applauding him, because he's raised 20 mil. You're going, yeah, but he's 100 years old, and frankly, shouldn't be doing it. He shouldn't have to raise 20 million for the NHS. We should be funding the NHS in a way that they have money. Instead, what we're doing is it only came out this week, but it turns out that we got it was 400,000 piece of PPE from Turkey that we couldn't use because they didn't pass inspection.
Whoa. Was that plane that they kept saying was meant to be coming in? So,
yes.
Is that the whole lot of it?
I've got
a sizable
So it's a shipment. It was 48-ton shipment. Right. Inspector said it was faulty the 22nd of April after it flew in. The government have said that it was 67,000 medical gowns received, and there's meant to be a further 170,000 still in Turkey being tested. Out of that, 4,500 have passed, 2,400 have failed, and the rest are currently being tested. They do not meet the UK standards.
Right.
But on that, we're still seeing we've got 170 care workers have called whistleblowing helplines thus far. Since the start of the coronavirus, and this is the highest that they've seen. It's the Compassion in Care who run the helpline, and a lot of it is about lack of PPE. And our government is still saying that everyone's fine, everyone's got enough PPE. Or they'll say 2 months ago, they said within a week, within a week everyone's going to have enough PPE, and then they say, oh, we're going to have all the PPE the week after, the week after, the week after, week after, week after, week after, and in that time, people are dying.
Yeah.
And if the worst point is that if you say something, you get sacked.
And there aren't enough care workers as it is.
No, so sack.
So there isn't enough protective equipment for the not enough people that there are to do the job. So it's that, and the lies on that is absolutely abhorrent. The lies that have been going on since January about that.
Exactly. It's the bit that always gets me worse. It's not about the incompetence. The incompetence is terrible and it's costing a lot of lives. But the lying about it will cost more lives in the future.
Yeah.
That's the bit.
And that has the knock-on effect of that's why people won't be able to do a staggered leave from lockdown, because they'd already, well, it's going back to your first point kind of thing, like, how does having an affair make you a bad scientist? It's that using those words to undermine them. The fact that these politicians have been actually lying has not been used to undermine them. I think we all know why. But
we have journalists who seem to believe that their job is to help the government instead of question them. Which isn't what journalism is about. Journalists should be there about putting facts and asking the questions that need to be answered. Not about going, Boris Johnson, he's a lovely fella. Finally, he's having a child, so he's going to start feeling better. Well, that hurt his other 16.
His other X number of children.
Yes.
And X is a constantly evolving number.
Of course. We don't know how many bastard children he has, or how many abortions he put on expenses.
It's amazing they've managed to just spin that whole thing. If you just take it as a man whose partner was expecting, so therefore is in a high-risk group, went and touched a load of people with COVID.
They're going around and shaking everyone's hand. That should be held up forever. It should be reminded every fucking day that when around the world, and we knew about this. This is what it happened in China and Italy before it happened here. This is how time works in movement of things. We knew all about it. Scientists were saying that we're in trouble here. And he went around with people who had it and shook their fucking hands.
And then boasted about it.
Yes. So you have to question, how many people did he spread it to?
Yeah. It's just it's a shame that some of them weren't more vulnerable. Anyway, no. Probably cut that out.
Oh no, nothing gets edited from this. I do not have the care to. It is extra work that I fancy not doing.
Fair enough.
So we never edit anything. So if you've got to say something that is going to ruin your career, please do enunciate.
Career. It's it's almost like some people sort of need to be punished by having an iPad hung around their neck with a little video of them, and for Boris Johnson it would be a video of him boasting about that. That needs to be.
It is the question, what does he need to do for people to start realising that he's not the second coming of Churchill? And he's not. But it is the issue with transparency, with lying, with almost... we're looking at a changing, a rewriting of history as we're living through the history.
Mm.
So every day, oh no, we didn't say this. No, actually, these numbers actually say this. We actually said this. Oh no, you didn't. And I mean, another interesting thing that our great benevolent leaders have done, seemingly, is Boris Johnson, Dominic Cummings, Priti Patel, Sunak. They've all started using a new communications app called Signal.
Mm.
Now, Signal allows you to permanently delete messages within 5 seconds in a week.
Ah.
The problem with that, of course, comes with if there's ever a freedom of information request.
Yeah.
Or a court order, which there could well be, for especially when we get to an inquiry over this.
Yeah.
The lack of transparency that our government is currently showing continues on to even behind doors. They're not writing anything down.
Yeah.
They are getting rid of all of the crumbs that potentially show any wrongdoing. Now, do you think that we should have rules in place for our politicians for such that they are unable to use such apps, or do you think that they need to use such apps for protection of certain national secrets?
I think maybe tell them it's deleted. So, but then it isn't actually deleted.
Well, this is meant to be more secure than WhatsApp.
Right, yeah.
So proper end-to-end encryption, can't get in anything. And on top of that, permanently deleting all of the messages. One of the things that it's seemingly the reasons that they're looking at doing it is to lower the chances of leaks, because leaks happen often, and they only want leaks when it's Dominic Cummings telling anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Government source.
Yeah.
Which needs to stop in journalism. Government source needs to stop. We can't continue how we're going with being a force-fed lies that get spread around all of our papers.
Yeah.
Because there's no trust in journalism anymore.
No.
Do you think there's a way that we could ever get back to trusting journalists? Or do you think that we're going to get to a point where all we're allowed to listen to, because it's the same thing that's happening with scientists, that all we're going to listen to now is fucking opinion piece commentators and politicians? We've currently got those two telling us what science should be, instead of us listening to scientists, because some of them get laid when they shouldn't.
Well, you'd hope something would demonstrate that that's an incredibly bad way to go about things. Yes. And people would realise that you needed to, for example, listen to scientists, and also listen to probably So you don't need to be edgy and not listening to the mainstream. You don't need to be alternative when you're dealing with scientists. Yes, if you're talking about music, you definitely want to be alternative and listen to the thing that not everyone else is doing. But if you're talking about responding to a pandemic, you don't want to be the hipster that's like, yeah, we're going with herd immunity. We got heard about this little thing called herd immunity, and we're going to go with that. Go with the mainstream. Best thing is keep everyone away from everyone else until we've got a vaccine.
Right, we're heading towards the end of this, so we're going to quick fire the last couple of bits. The first one is the Home Office has sent a letter to a top immigrant judge saying that the Home Office was somewhat surprised that judges had agreed to release so many people on immigration bail during the coronavirus crisis, seemingly attempting to exert pressure onto judges releasing them. The first-tier tribunal president, Michael Clements, replied, "We decide bail applications in accordance with the law." Now, very quickly, and it is an obvious answer, but hopefully you can elaborate a little bit more. Should the Home Office be sending letters to judges telling them how they should look at the law, or how they should represent the law, or whatever?
No, that's I didn't know about that one. That's a worry.
Yeah, both of the letters are available to read. So you can make your own decisions.
Right.
But having read them, don't look good for the Home Office. Really don't look good. But you expect that with Priti Patel there, who is a vile woman.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not made out of cut out letters from newspapers.
It's ridiculous. I think you'll find that all of the crimes going down. Yeah, that's because everyone's indoors, you fucking moron.
Yeah, there was some panic burglaring just before lockdown was announced.
And out of things, one of the bits not mentioned is that attacks on emergency service staff is going up.
Yes,
which is so much fun.
Yeah.
Final piece of news is it has emerged some papers, including proposals, explanatory materials, emails, and substantive information of the UK and US trade talks will not be made public until 5 years after the deal has been signed. So this is similar to remember TTIP when that fell, and one of the reasons that fell was because of the secrecy aside. It's one of the things that US love. So first two questions. Number one, do you think that this secrecy put in place is because the US has bowed to, the UK has bowed to the US, or do you think that we are happy with the secrecy because there's stuff that we're going to put in there that we do not want our nation to know?
The second one, but they'll pretend it's the first one.
I mean, if it's the first one that we bow to the US this quickly over just the secrecy levels is a concern. Although it is showing that we are not the fucking Billy Big Bollocks that was expected. Right. Anything to plug?
Well, my podcast that I co-host with Alistair Beckett-King called Loremen.
Interdimensional. What a
the Interdimensional. Loremen. It's called Loremen. It's about folklore, and I mean, I think I did one little bit of satire per episode, which is mostly based around the fact that Trump means fart. So I don't know if it's going to appeal to your listeners.
I mean, first off, listeners. Oh, that's a strong term.
Sorry, your listener. I'll listen.
Very nice of you. Very nice of you indeed. All of the details for your podcast will be underneath this one.
Nice.
And underneath this thing in the YouTube descriptions, as along with all of the social media stuff that you have, you send that all over to me. Thank you very much for being on. We'll chat very briefly once I stop recording.
Okay.
Bye to everyone else.
Bye. Stay safe.
Oh, there it is.